Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie, and I'm joined by Bernard. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, mate. We've got through that sort of week, didn't we? Relatively unscathed. So, yeah, I'm quite happy today, mate.
Yeah. Like you said, a tough week. Chelsea away, PSG away, Liverpool away in 3 successive games. It's not the easiest run in the world, is it?
No, I mean it was just. I think we were sort of excited by it, but we also dreaded it a little bit, didn't we? And I say it wasn't perfect by any means, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse. We're sort of.
Yeah.
Is there an echo? Is there an echo?
I think it's all right now. Is it
okay,
sorted?
Yeah.
Just quickly, 2-2 draw at Anfield. Thoughts on the performance?
Yeah, I think we have to be happy with that, don't we? Obviously, it'd be nice to get on the balance of play. It would have been nice to get the win, of course it would. But I think most of us going into that game, minimum would have been a draw. And certainly the way the game panned out, I think we're happy with the draw because previous occasions at Liverpool, we go goals behind, we don't sort of come back, do we? So that's the problem. So it was nice to show that. I think the word character has been used, hasn't it, a few times. Nice to show actual character and come back from 1-0 down and obviously 2-1 down. It would have been nice to nick it, but in the end we could have lost it, couldn't we? So yeah, I think we've got to be philosophical about it and say, yeah, we'll take that. And I'll say a win and a draw. Our last 2 visits to Anfield, perhaps things are on the way up now. Perhaps the old Anfield curse has been put on the old back burner now. Perhaps it's good times to come, eh?
Yeah, hopefully. Like you said there, normally we go a goal behind and maybe lose it. I weren't confident when Mane scored the first one. I thought we'd lose 2 or 3-0, to be honest. And then Salah scored that wonder goal, and I thought too little, too late. But you never know with City, do you?
Well, that's it. I mean, they won't be City. I mean, I've been here a lot longer than you, Charlie. And I say that's even when we're brilliant, it's always that typical City going to come through. So that's what makes football and supporting City especially. I think certainly never boring. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go to the players now, starting with Ederson in goal. How do you think he played?
I mean, he had a really good game, I thought. His distribution was excellent. He was confident, and he's not always like that at Anfield. And then obviously it gets to this, we'll talk about it later, but people tend to forget what happened before that wonderful bit of football at the end from a gentleman called Rodri. And obviously it was Ederson coming for that ball. It was just, I think he knocked Ruben Diaz over. I think he put him on the floor. And that's the sort of thing Ederson does early in the game. I think this game, Alisson did one of those where he sort of passed it to one of our players, didn't he? But we didn't take advantage yet quite early on. And that's the sort of thing Ederson does. But because Liverpool didn't put us under that much pressure early doors, I think he had time to sort of get into it. But yeah, apart from, as I say, if we could just ignore that little 81st minute, was it? Or 80, it was around then anyway, when it was in the 80 odd minutes. If I could ignore that, he had a great game. But you have to say that could have cost us the game, unfortunately. So yeah, it sort of blotted his copybook because I thought, like the rest of the team, he'd played, or the majority of the team, he played really well. But I must admit, that was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, I'm a member of the goalkeepers union myself, and I love Ederson, but he is prone to this. Certainly in big games as well. That's the worry with me with Ederson. I've seen him when he played for Benfica. He played in a couple of cup finals, and in these big games, he can make these odd ricks. He was younger then, obviously, when he was playing for Benfica, but he's not really learning that. As he's been with us a little while now, and he doesn't seem to have sort of eradicated that. But I wouldn't swap him for the world. Don't get me wrong, but we always know that's going to happen with him. I mean, what did you panic a little bit when he flaps it back?
Yeah. I just saw Fabinho open at the back post, and Rodri somehow got back and blocked it. I thought we lost it right at the end, to be honest.
I think time stood still. Certainly did for me. I just didn't know what it was. It was as though they do say the life flashes in front of you before you die. But I mean, obviously the life flashed in front of me before. Obviously we were saved. So yeah, that was the sort of feeling we got. But as I say, I forgive Ederson, of course I will. But I think that blotted his the game for him a little bit. But people have seemed to forgot a little bit about it because of what happened after it. But yeah, it was a shame because he had quite a good game, even though he didn't have a lot to do.
Yeah, definitely. On to the back four then, starting with the right back, Kyle Walker. How do you think he played?
Yeah, I think Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool targeted him. Obviously, they targeted the other wing in the main, didn't you? And I think Kyle Walker had quite a comfortable game. He didn't do a lot. He was sort of going forward quite a lot, but I don't think he was put under much pressure at the back, and he was comfortable. And by the end of the game, he was up causing problems in their box as well, which is what we want. You know, he's got pace, so he's going to take players out, isn't he? If he can get in the box more, with or without the ball, I don't mind him getting in the box without the ball, because it takes their defenders' minds off other things, and they're trying to watch him while he whips across. I think that happened with our winning draw, the goal from KDB late on. I think he put people off by being there, and although he's not the greatest at crossing, I'd rather see him do that. I'd rather see him perhaps do a few runs where he perhaps doesn't have the ball, but he puts the minds of obviously the opposition players to what's he up to, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So. I thought Kyle Walker played a good game, but as I say, he didn't have to do much defending as such. I think most of the danger came from the other side. But a good game from Kyle Walker. He was one of the better players, I think, on against Liverpool.
Yeah, like you said, it was mostly on the other side. Of course, the two goal scorers for Liverpool. Mane was in the middle when he scored his goal, and Salah normally plays from the right, so it weren't from Walker's side really.
Yeah, I mean, if he could be a left back as well, would be all right. If he could do a Cancelo, if you like, where they use him on the left. But I think Walker's days at left back, I'm not too sure if I remember many of them, but they couldn't have been very good, I don't think. If we had another Walker on that side, mate, I think we'd stroll this league. To be honest with you, sincerely, I'm not just saying that. I think we would if there was if we had a cloned Walker as left back as well. I think we'd do okay.
Yeah, definitely. Into the centre backs, starting with Ruben Diaz, the captain, on Sunday. How do you think he played?
Yeah, I think it was a good captain's performance. As I say, certainly the first half, I think we were all over the pitch far better, and they weren't really put under pressure. But Diaz is going to dive in and block and stuff like this. I wish he was a bit more dangerous. Obviously, he's our Van Dijk, isn't he? I wish he was a bit more dangerous from our corners. When we get a corner, he's all right, but he does score the odd goals, we know, but he doesn't. Van Dijk looks far more dangerous. If you could have that asset, I'm not saying Van Dijk's tons better than Diaz, but if you could have that ability in the air as well. But as far as running himself ragged and controlling that defence and being captain, don't forget that's an extra responsibility now that he's not had before for City, being captain as well. And if you can put and say that's part of the character coming out again, obviously with him as captain, I think he's affecting the whole team, certainly in games like that. And it's something we've missed, I think, on and off over the last while Pep's been there. Certainly, certainly since Kompany went. Kompany, obviously, when Kompany was injured, we struggled, I think, for captain. And with that extra responsibility, I think he's doing a marvellous job at the back at the moment. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think last season he was our player of the season. I remember that block against Chelsea in the last 5 minutes. That stopped Chelsea getting a draw. He couldn't really do much with either goal against Paris in the week or either goal on Sunday. So you can't blame him, to be honest.
No, I totally agree. It's just, I'm so glad. I mean, so glad, aren't we? We were so lucky, really. Do you think we did panic about replacing Kompany? Let's be honest about it. And to get this guy, I think we've hit the jackpot, really, because he's going to be there for a long time.
Yeah. We'll go to his partner on Sunday then, Aymeric Laporte. How do you think he played?
Yeah, I think he struggled mainly because he obviously. Most defenders, let's be honest about it, most good defenders are going to struggle against that Liverpool front three. That's why they do so well. And they say they miss out the midfield most of the time. So you're sort of having to put under that pressure. There's no sort of slow movement through midfield. You just literally put under that pressure straight away by Liverpool because they play these balls to the three guys, have got that skill up front. And Laporte struggled a little bit, obviously, but can you blame him? I mean, I'm not going to blame Laporte for struggling against world-class strikers, and considering that, as I said, he played okay, but he did struggle a little bit. But I won't particularly hold that against him in this game because he did, as I say, he wasn't quite as good perhaps next to Diaz. I think he probably gets a little bit more of the blame than Diaz for the goals, as we said. But hey, I think they play as a unit, don't they? So they all accept responsibility. So not his best game, but I think there's reasons for that, don't you, considering the opposition we played?
Yeah, definitely. Mohammed in the chat here has said, is Ruben Diaz overrated or underrated? What would you say, Bernard?
The thing with Diaz, the thing is, I think he has had a few games where he looks overrated. Don't get me wrong, but he's far from the finished item at the moment. Let's be honest about it. And he had a great understanding with John Stones, and now he's got to get that understanding with Laporte at the moment, because obviously they're the two guys in form. They're the two guys that Pep is picking. So yes, yes, I've seen a lot of games where he's made mistakes, but I mean, let's face it, Van Dijk is one of the world's best apparently, and I've seen plenty of games. I mean, he was on his bum against us, wasn't he? I've seen plenty of games where he struggled, but I would say he's rated. I wouldn't say he was either at the moment. I think he's got room to improve. As I said, with that extra responsibility, it certainly doesn't seem to be affecting him. He's not perfect by any means. He's not the greatest centre half the world has ever seen. Of course, he's not. You name me one who is, but yeah, I would say he's just rated at the moment. I think some games, yes, he will be a slightly underrated, and some games will be overrated. But yeah, I think as Mohammed's saying there, he needs, it's early days. I mean, people seem to think he's, once you've been there 3 or 4 years as a centre half, like Company, you sort of no one had any doubts about Company once he'd been there 3, 4, 5 years, and it'll be the same with Diaz. He'll once he's done that sort of level. But at the moment, I just rate him. I'll just say he's rated. That's all I'd say about Ruben at the moment.
Yeah, he's only 24 as well. He's not exactly old, so he's got a good 5-10 years left in it.
Experience, I mean, that's it, 24, that's nothing. I mean, he'll be at his peak like the midfielders, defenders, midfielders, the goalkeepers are a bit later, obviously, usually they're a bit later on. But he'll be at his peak 27, 28, 29, something like that. So, hey, we've got loads of time, haven't we?
Yeah. To the left back then, a Portuguese teammate for Ruben Diaz, João Cancelo. How do you think he played?
Well, I think they knew he'd struggle. I was a bit when Pep picked the team that played against Chelsea, the same team that played against Chelsea. Obviously, we're not playing Chelsea this time. We were playing a team with totally different tactics. And I knew Cancelo would struggle. He's not a natural. We know he's not a natural defender. He's much more comfortable going forward. And I think every one thing he did good, he did one thing either poorly or average, I think, against Liverpool. So he certainly wasn't our best player by any way. But again, with the same excuse I used for Laporte, I mean, he doesn't come up against that sort of opposition week in, week out either. And as I said, he was still confident enough to go up. Certainly that first half, obviously where we had more of the ball, he was willing to get to the edge of that box and try and create things. But I think on the left-hand side, he did struggle as a left-back, which we do ask him, obviously we don't think of him as a left-back, obviously the way we play our football. But yeah, he did struggle that second half. But again, I'm not going to be too down on him because of who we're playing. But of the defenders, I think he was probably the least effective and of the 4 defenders against Liverpool, that's for sure. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah. I think, as you said before, Diaz, Laporte or Walker did nothing wrong. And Cancelo obviously struggled against Salah, which is not a bad thing because Salah's one of the best attackers in world football. So you can't
I'd make a cheeky bid for him. I think he's not signed a new contract, has he? At Liverpool yet? He's still stalling. Obviously, I don't think he'd ever in a million years come to City. Obviously, and Liverpool wouldn't let him come to City. But yeah, I mean, there's never ever any talk of Salah, is there? But yeah, apart from his little propensity to act as always been shot in the box, I think he's a fantastic player. But as I say, we could make a cheeky bid for him in January, perhaps, or something like that. But he's 29. Is he 29 this year? So he's still got certainly three or 4 seasons in him, of quality. So yeah, as you said, any defender's going to struggle at some stage because, I say, he was quiet, wasn't he? First half, Salah, we didn't see him. To be honest with you, we didn't see Liverpool as a force in that first half. But yeah, he's any defender, and obviously to say to Cancelo, you've got to keep him out of the game would be a silly thing to ask. It's just impossible to do that for 90 minutes.
Yeah. My dad said it while we were watching the game, actually. He said, how many goals do you reckon Salah would score in our team with all the chances we create? He'd be the top scorer in the league by a mile, in my opinion.
Well, so I mean, the system at Liverpool works for him. How they do it. I mean, but at City, I think he would do even better, as you say. I just don't any striker. I mean, even if he started putting Delap in at the moment, he'd score plenty of goals. Of course, he'd score plenty of goals. He wouldn't have obviously. He's no Salah. He's no even it's not at that level. Of course, he's not. He's not the opportunity yet. But I think any sort of what worries me, Charlie, is when we play sort of two or three, when we play, say, three up front, at the moment, we seem to have one of our front three not quite doing it, whether it's Grealish, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Torres. There's always someone in that front three who doesn't quite click on the day. And I always think if we just had an half decent striker in that, in place of the one, all right, we haven't got hindsight. We don't know who's going to have a bad game, but it makes you think that if we did have an half decent striker, it would make a hell of a difference to the team. And as I say, certainly Salah in our team. Yeah, I'd take him tomorrow. I'd have a word with him about his diving, as I said, but I'd take him tomorrow. I think he's calmed down with that actually now. I don't think he's as bad as he was. So perhaps some people have had a word with him, but that's. I think your dad's quite right there. I mean, let's face it. Any half decent, you talk your Lukaku's, don't you? Talk Jamie Vardy. I mean, Jamie Vardy would even probably have a field day for us. Harry Kane would probably wake up and start scoring a few, but obviously that ship sailed, I think, and he seems to be just sulking at the moment. But I'd have to agree. Salah would have plenty. Whatever he scores at Liverpool, he could probably add another half a dozen at least, or perhaps even more to it.
Yeah. Mohammed has asked here, will Zinchenko ever be City's first choice left back?
It's gone, hasn't it? He's gone again. This is the trouble with Zinchenko. He suddenly disappears and then he comes back and does a good job. And everyone says, we don't need a left back. We've got Zinchenko. And he's, psychologically, he can't keep coming back like this. I mean, it's I've no down on Zinchenko at all. It's not his fault. He loves City. I saw images of him on Twitter, in the stands watching the match, getting all excited, obviously, when City scored. He's City through and through. He had the chance to leave City. He's had the chance to leave City at least one occasion, perhaps a couple of occasions. And he's always been willing to stay and fight. And that's what I like. So I hate it when people start slagging him off when he does make the odd mistake or odd rip when he does play a game. But the trouble is, at the moment, he just can't get in it. He just can't get in that team. Cancelo's there. He's going to get in at some stage. I mean, last time I thought he'd play, obviously he was injured, so he couldn't play, could he? He's been injured for 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
But obviously, with Pep's mindset at the moment, I mean, I can only think the next one he probably would play in would probably be the Carabao Cup against West Ham. But I mean, you don't know. Things change, don't they? He only needs to get on and do a performance, and he'll be back again. But I must admit, psychologically, he's obviously probably got his head screwed on okay because he seems to be coping. But I do worry about that side of it when he's not playing. But I mean, because he doesn't. I don't think he wants to be a left back. But obviously, Pep doesn't play left backs anyway. So I always thought he was ideal for that position, but it didn't quite always work out in the long term. When he did get that position, he sort of made mistakes and then got dropped again and all this sort of thing. But as a player, as a guy, all credit to him. But whether he will be ever the left back going forward, I would doubt it very much, unfortunately.
Yeah. Into the midfield then, going to the scorer of the second goal, Kevin De Bruyne. How do you think he played?
Well, I think the goal helped, but before that, I wasn't overly struggling. I think he's struggling. I think the first 3 passes at Anfield in the first 10 minutes were all overhit. If he is struggling to find a little bit of form at the moment. I assume he's got to play for Belgium in this international break. I assume. I've not seen that. Perhaps that'll help him get a little bit of form back. But and as I say, that there was a couple of occasions. There was the header. To be honest with you, he's got to hit the target with that. I mean, a world-class player. I'm sorry that was a League Two finish. at least get it on target. I mean, I know he ended up diving for it, but I don't think he had to dive. I thought he had time to actually take it. He might have had to lean forward a little bit, but I thought he could have done a lot. All right, he's not a natural. He's not, we know he's not a header of a ball, but he's professional. He's a world-class footballer, so I expect him to at least get it on target. And it hit the top row of the Anfield Road stand, I think, that one. But so anyway, that was just a one-off. But generally, I don't think he had a good game, but all credit to him. I mean, Pep kept him on and he kept plugging away. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have equalised, would we? And he got that shot on target. All right, it took a deflection, but I thought he might have played it deliberately off him because he thought Alisson was going to save it. But I'm being a bit kind to Kevin there. But obviously Matip, wasn't it? It Matip on the thigh and the chest, is it? And then obviously Alisson had no chance, but he got it on target. Then you see, this is what I'll say. If he got the header on target, it'd been saved. I would have preferred it, and he did that in the end. And all credit to him to say he didn't have the greatest game. He wasn't particularly sulky. He does sulk a little bit, I've noticed, Kevin. But I think now he's not the captain. I don't think he sulks as much. I think he keeps his head down and gets on with it a little bit more. And obviously, as I say, it's not his greatest game. I think he needs a bit of time. Sometimes he comes straight back in and does a wonderful job. This time it's taking him time, and that can happen. I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that he doesn't pick up an injury at all, and he gets these games under his belt. And I think we'll see the best of him leading up to Christmas, and I think it'll come strong then.
Yeah, I don't think he's fully fit, to be honest with you. He's not been himself for the last couple of weeks, has he?
No, that's it. I mean, but having said that, mate, Charlie, you shouldn't be playing him if he's not fully fit. He shouldn't be playing. If you're on the bench, even if you're not fully fit, we don't need to do that with the squad we've got. We don't need to put guys who aren't fully fit. And I'm sure it might be a mental thing as well. Perhaps his confidence is a little down. I know it seems a daft thing to say of a world-class player that your confidence is down, but you must have doubts. I don't matter how good you are. In the old days, Pelé, I'm sure he had doubts about his football. Sometimes, and I think perhaps. It's hard to tell with Kevin, though, because his body language, he's never the most happy chappy, is he? Let's be honest about it. He always looks angry. So it's very hard to tell off his body language if he's happy or he's not. He's unhappy. But, it might be a bit psychological as well. It just, as I say, that goal might do him the world of good. Obviously, it came late, so we've not had a chance to see. But let's see how he goes on for Belgium. And then, obviously, hopefully he'll be back all firing, guns blazing for us when we kick off again.
Yeah. In the midfield, next up, Rodri. How do you think he played?
Well, I think the thing about Rodri in that Liverpool game, mainly the first half, because obviously most City players sort of put it in without you thinking, he's had a fantastic game, but they were just working so hard all over the pitch. And I use the word in a nice way. I don't use this word in a bad way, which it can be interpreted, that he sort of ghosted through most of the game, I thought he was there, did what he had to do, kept Liverpool at bay for most of it. As I say, we did struggle in the second half and the up their game a little bit. But I think I've been quite impressed. I think as we've talked on here about Rodri recently, I was never his biggest fan, but I'm beginning to like him more. And I didn't notice him much against Liverpool, which can be a good thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, and that's why you use the word ghosted. You know what I mean? Come on. I'll forgive everything. I'll forgive everything for that. Clear. I mean, I have no idea where he came from. I think the commentator on the City site thought it was Diaz, and I think most of us wouldn't have even considered it was Rodri. I mean, that's up there with the I think I said somewhere else with the Stones clearance against Liverpool at the Etihad. That's up there with that. It's up there with the Walker clearance, the Community Shield against Liverpool. I mean, I called it. I think it was in the 84 minutes and 6 seconds. I think the images are. I said it's our new 93-20. It's our 84-06 moment. I was going to get a T-shirt printed, but unbelievable. I just don't know where he came from. He was like Usain Bolt, wasn't he? He just got his inner speed, and it was just a strange place for him to be honest with you. You just don't expect to see Rodri in that position to save the ball. And I don't think Fabinho did much wrong. I think if you look at it in normal time, I mean, if you slow it down, yes, but if you look at it in normal time, he had to control the ball before he could put it in the net. And that's what he did. I mean, and so you can't compensate for the fact that Rodri had the nous, the speed of thought, not just physically to get across, which was unbelievable because he's not the fastest guy, let's be honest. it. But just the speed of thought to get across and block it. All right, it could have gone at flew in anyway, but he didn't, did he? It got blocked and went out. And I don't think Fabinho did much wrong, because I was thinking, well, if that had fallen to Salah or Mane, well, I think Firmino was on at the time, wasn't he? If that had fallen to one of those guys, but I thought, no, I don't think they would have done anything. I don't think they would have hit it first time, because the ball might have been sort of a little bit spinny. I think they would have controlled it just to make sure that it didn't spin off into, slice it wide or something like that. So. He did nothing wrong for Fabinho. It's just the marvellous, wonderful block from which we see from our defender. We've seen that more perhaps recently than perhaps in we've seen before from the City defenders, where they actually put the bodies on the line. They've done that for a little while now in defence, and that's where we've improved. All right, we commit ourselves sometimes, but that wasn't committing, was it? That was just lunging in and hoping that he got a block on it and it worked. I thought Rodri was definitely up there with one of the best players, just because of that, basically. As I said, because I didn't really notice him that much, but you give anything, or you sort of for that sort of save. That was that sort of thing that wins titles, all sort of things. I mean, what do you think it's saying about old Rodders?
Yeah. Yeah, I think out of the last 3 games against Chelsea, PSG and Liverpool, he's been our best player, to be honest. That Chelsea performance was brilliant. He didn't have much to do in Paris, to be honest. I don't think he didn't do great, but didn't do anything wrong. And of course, that block against Liverpool on Sunday, you can't really complain about him, can you?
No. I'm not saying, I don't think any of our players are, well, there might be one exception, we've not got to him yet, but at the moment, I don't think any of them are perfect by any means. We still, but who is? I mean, we played just 3 quality teams, haven't we? I don't expect any of our lads to have played perfect games against Chelsea, PSG and Liverpool. You're talking 3 of the best teams in the world. I mean, PSG are the joint favourites to win the Champions League. They were the favourites at the start of the season, the joint favourites with us now. Liverpool are one of the favourites to win the title. Chelsea, one of the favourites to win the title. So, I mean, to put in those performances that our guys have done over the last 3 games, and obviously we had the same team for 2 of the games, didn't we, Chelsea and Liverpool? It's marvellous. And I say, Rodri, yeah, of course he's not. I mean, I'll have a laugh about his turning circle being like an oil tanker, but it doesn't matter, does it? It's no one's perfect, and not quite no one. There's one guy that I think should always be sort of always put on the team sheet first, but we'll get to him in a minute. But absolutely amazing stuff, I think.
Yeah, I got a bit of deja vu from that Liverpool game you mentioned earlier with the John Stones clearance. Yeah. And the Phil Foden goal reminded me of the Sane goal from that game as well.
Yeah.
They were both very similar. Anthony in the chat here, he says, "Hi Charlie, what a game. Good goals, but Salah's goal was the best."
No, rubbish. Yeah, well, brilliant goal. Absolutely stunning goal. That's what I said. That was amazing. That was one of the goals I've ever seen. And obviously, brilliant, absolutely brilliant from Salah.
Yeah. We'll go to next up, Bernardo Silva. How do you think he played?
Well, he's one what I've said about perfect games. I'm very rarely disappointed with Bernardo, no matter who we're playing, to be honest with you. And obviously, he's I think they call him bubblegum, don't they? I've said, well, add to that bubblegum. Have you heard of that product, No More Nails? I think he's had a tube of that as well put to his boot. Because, I mean, he was denied. Let's face it, you talk about Salah goal there was fantastic. But I'm sorry, if Mr. Foden had finished off that Bernardo dream move, I mean, that would have been the goal of the match and the goal of this century, probably the last century, with the way he jigged through it, etc. And then superb, but fantastic, but did everything right. It was actually surprisingly Foden's first touch that let him down, I think, on that one, which is very, very unusual with Phil Foden. You know that, but I think he got a bit excited when obviously it went through to him, because he knew it was going to come to him. But Bernardo, I mean, what can you say? It's just, I'm hoping. I dread to. I sort of think that he's playing this well now because he knows that, all right, things haven't quite worked out personally for him last year or two, so he's on a bit of a high at the moment. But I'm dreading the fact he's playing this well because he's committed and he's gonna move on. I hate to say that because I love Bernardo, but I think he's sort of settled his mind now that something's going to happen. He's sort of knuckled down and obviously got on with it, which you always expect. Even when he wasn't out of form, he played. For the last couple of years, he was still played. He still put 110% effort in every game. You can't ever deny that. And now he's still putting the effort in, and he's got a bit of his old skip and jump that he had in the past, and he's fantastic. But I do worry that this is perhaps not that he's staying and he's happy, but because he's happy because he's sorted his mind out, but he will still be going. I mean, obviously that's by the by, isn't it? But I thought he was superb yesterday. I thought him and another guy I had joint man of the matches yesterday, so I chickened out a little bit, and certainly Bernardo was one of those. I thought he was brilliant throughout the game. Even when we're under pressure, he was still trying to tackle back. It's not his best. I always expect him to give free kicks away when he's trying to tackle back. That's where he's probably a bit David Silverish. He's a bit of a nipper, and he sort of has a kick, and and he just gets caught on the wrong side too often. But we're not got him for defending. We've got him for other things. So. I mean, what do you think about Bernardo? Do you think he will? Do you think he'll stay, Charlie, or do you think he may be off and he's sort of resigned to the fact he's going to put it in while he's here, but he's got a different future ahead? I might be reading too much into it. What do you think?
I think it's very much 50-50. I can see it going either way, to be honest, because he loves the club. I think that's true.
Yeah, he knows the fans love him at the end of the day. Well, I mean, the fans do love him. He's like David Silva to us. He's took over now from that mantle. We always loved David Silva, even when it wasn't working out. And the same with Bernardo, as you say.
Yeah, and I think it's just the climate, which I think he said a couple of times, which he isn't a fan of. Which I don't blame him for, to be honest.
The COVID didn't help, did it? Let's be honest about it. I mean, he couldn't do anything. I mean, it would have affected us. I mean, we've got our home comforts, and it still affected us. And we've been able, obviously, for a guy like him who loves, obviously, loves his family, etc. Obviously, that's got to be a big question mark as well during the COVID thing. That mentally and psychologically, it would have affected him.
Yeah. Onto the front three then, starting with the right winger, Gabriel Jesus. How do you think he played?
Yeah, well, again, he was a bit like Rodri to me. I didn't really notice him that much at all, but the work he was putting in, the work along that front line, he was sort of protecting. He was protecting us as well. It was actually the work he did across the middle of the pitch in that front line. It kept the ball away from the defence a lot of the time because of that extra bit of work he was doing. And obviously, when Liverpool came into it a little bit more in the second half, again, he was still causing problems for Liverpool up in their half. And of course, if it hadn't been for that brilliant run across the pitch. Obviously lead up to KDB's goal, was it? And Foden's goal, wasn't it? Haven't been that run across the pitch. Am I right? Is that I'm getting mixed up?
It's Foden's goal.
I mean, he worked his way across, beat a couple of players, and just sort of went diagonally and fed through Foden. Obviously, superb finish from Foden, of course. Obviously, we didn't mention that before. Brilliant finish from Foden. Not unlike the Alisson one was a bit. The Alisson save in the first half. It was a similar sort of angle, I thought, but there you go. But I mean, Jesus, that was late on, and he just carried on. That's what you get with Jesus. Even if it's not quite going right, he still buzzes along, causes a few problems, and there's a lot of, and wasn't, never mind buzzing along. That was a weavy run, and he almost actually scored at the very end. I don't even remember the 91st minute. He had a fantastic shot, and it was on target. It would have beat Alisson, but I can't remember the defender now who blocked
Robertson, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that was destined for the goal. What a goal that would have been if you're talking about goals, because he just smashed it basically. Just like Phil said, he put his laces through it, and it was goal bound. So I was impressed with Jesus again. He was not quite up there, perhaps with Bernardo and a certain other gentleman, but I thought he was excellent against Liverpool.
Yeah, into the main man in attack, really, through the middle was Jack Grealish, which shocked me a bit. How do you think he played?
Yeah, well, he didn't have the greatest game against PSG, but we knew he'd play in this one. But again, he didn't have a great game in this one. A lot of people are slagging him off, as you expect on Twitter. Obviously not proper fans. Obviously, they're just idiots. And I think this proves he just needs a bit of a rest now. We've played him every game, haven't we? Let's be honest about it. And obviously, he's going to go away and play for England now. And Mr. Southgate's put some extra pressure on him. I don't know if you saw that about his remarks today about Grealish, that he needs to get a goal, in other words, which isn't going to help really psychologically, certainly not after the last couple of games where he's not been at his best. So thank you, Mr. Southgate, for stating that. I think that's obviously not very good on his part. As I say, I don't think Grealish is a natural goal scorer anyway. He's more an assist, he's more a creative talent. I don't think you should put pressure on players like him, and I think that's unfair of Southgate. And I think obviously playing for City, we don't put that pressure on him, of course. It's nice when he pops in with a goal, but I certainly don't expect him to score, to be one of the top scorers, even though he did all right for Villa. But obviously you're talking a slightly, although doing well this season, but a slightly different level when he was top scored for them, but more responsibility, etc. But I think he needs a rest now. I think he was a bit lost. I mean, he certainly played at Liverpool before. He's not looked out of his depth when he's played them before. But I think this game was just one a little bit too far for him. But I wouldn't have played anything different. I think it was totally right that he played the game. But I think Pep asked him to play in quite a different position, as you say, and he can't do that. He's one of these players. I don't think he can switch. He can probably go from wing to wing and stuff, but start trying to play him in the middle and stuff like this. I don't think Pep will try it, of course, and either Grealish will grow into it and get used to doing it and learn how to do it. You know what Pep's like; he has these ideas, and most of them come off. So we might see it, but it's a bit early yet. A bit early, I think, in such a high pressure game to sort of ask a little bit different of him. I think he should have been left to do his natural stuff against Liverpool. I think it's far too early in his career at City to start trying to mess around with what he's good at in big games. Yeah, he can do it in a so-called lesser game if you like, but. I think Pep's a little, Pep's a genius, and I think he picked the right team. I thought he sort of didn't give Grealish a good chance in this one, and I hope it hasn't affected him. I hope he does well for England, despite what Mr. Southgate has said. But I do think perhaps for City he needs a little rest now. I think just rest him for a game, not drop him. I don't think he should drop him because I don't think he deserves dropping, but just a rest, just to clear his mind. I mean, I've been impressed with him. Have you been impressed with him, Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's had a bad performance yet for us. I think he's done well. He's third on goals and assists for the club in the Premier League behind Jesus and Torres, joint with Mahrez on 2. So he's not doing bad, but I'd like to see more, especially in the last couple of games against PSG and Liverpool. He's not done much in either of those.
Yeah, I mean, most people, obviously, I thought it was all right it was pretty good against Chelsea, wasn't it? If I remember rightly now. It seems a long time ago now. But, I mean, as I said, same proviso used earlier on. PSG, favourites to win the Champions League along with us. Liverpool favourites to be one of the league title, to reclaim the league title along with us, sort of thing. Right, we're the favourites. We've got odds on again now. But, all right, he didn't have the greatest games, but as I say, it's early doors, and I think it's a little bit unfair of people to start criticising too much. As I say, perhaps needs to be taken out the firing line, or obviously when we come back, it's Burnley. Is it the first game we've got back? Certainly no reason why he shouldn't play against Burnley, but perhaps give him a rest for one of the two of the games after that, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't see him playing in the cup against West Ham, really.
No, I think we've got Brighton away as well, haven't we? Stuff like that. So again, that'll be quite an interesting game because they're doing very well, Brighton. But give him. I don't say give him a rest against Burnley, but just give him a little step back so he can regroup, as we say, and get on, But as I say, it's not a disaster by any means, but obviously he wasn't as important to us. And as I said, I think there's excuses with the Liverpool game because of where Pep asked him to play. I think that's fully understandable. He perhaps could have done better against PSG, but again, as a team, we didn't overly do very well against PSG. So that's fair. That's fair enough. I've no downer on Grealish at all.
Yeah. And the final starter, the scorer of the first goal, Phil Foden. He's just world class.
I mean, as I said, he's with Bernardo, who's my man of the match. I mean, to me, he should. If he's fit, obviously, if he's fit and he's playing, or he's fit and he's on the. I don't ever see him fit and on the bench, particularly unless you say it's a cup game. We might need to bring him on, say West Ham, tough game away, something like that, where you perhaps. I mean, to be honest with you, with the form West Ham are in, I'd play him from the start anyway. But you know what I mean. That sort of quality of game, I wouldn't mind him being on the bench. But for me, he should be on the team sheet first every single time, because in the same way that Bernardo and Jesus are a pain to the opposition. I mean, Phil is, but he's got so much skill. As I said, you can't say he let us down by not putting that Bernardo pass and putting it in the back of the net, because Alisson made a good save and his first touch wasn't brilliant. But, then you look at the goal he scores and it was sort of virtual, similar sort of position, if you like. And you think to Anfield last year, the goal he scored at Anfield, it's from the other wing as well. He came in from the right, didn't he? That last season when he scored that wonder goal. And obviously this time he's coming in from the left. So he can play both sides. I mean, he can play left and right. He's, again, a bit like Grealish. He's not great in the middle, I don't think. I don't think he likes playing in the middle particularly. I think he wants to be coming in from the wings. But because I don't think it's quite worked if he's played Foden as a false, as a dedicated false nine, if you like, rather than move him about, which is what we tend to do anyway. But no, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, Liverpool, any team, Liverpool, PSG, or anyone, Chelsea, they're going to worry about him. They're quality teams, but and even the commentators, they're not very good with our players. They don't usually talk them up, do they? Let's be honest about it. Any City player, they always look down upon them. All these so-called commentators who are not biased, but yeah, you get the commentators commenting what a player England have got, and so how can we disagree? If they're going to say it, we know something's right, don't we? Because he wouldn't usually say that about City players, and he was brilliant. He was brilliant. It was the reason, the character, he won't stop. He may mess it up, but he won't stop. He'll still want that ball, he'll still demand that ball, and he'll still 90% of the time do something useful with it. And fantastic. 21. He's only 21, mate. 21 years old, and he's been held back. So I don't think he's gonna. You think of it like Rooney. Rooney had a great career, don't get me wrong, but he did obviously the last 3 or 4 years. He's sort of mull along a little bit. And with Foden, he's 21, but the way he's been played, you can see him going for another at least 10, 11, 12 years at that sort of standard. He's just stunning to watch. And it's probably, I say, with Bernardo and Phil, I mean, if we lost them in any way or they went anywhere, I'd be absolutely devastated. How would you feel? I mean, I'll be devastated if Bernardo goes, but imagine if Bernardo and Phil went. I dread to think of that, mate. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Phil, with the extra factor of him going through our academy as well, that'd make it worse, to be honest. And being 21 years old, and he's already won 3 Premier League titles, that tells you everything, really.
Let's hope in his next 10 years he perhaps win another 6 or 7. That'd be nice, wouldn't
it? Yeah. And then we only made 1 sub in the match, actually. Raheem Sterling. How do you think he played when he came on?
Well, I must admit, we've sort of, unfortunately, I don't mean this in a nice way, unfortunately, we sort of changed one ineffective player, which Grealish was, unfortunately, for that game, for another ineffective player who looked as though actually got himself in a couple of good positions when he did come on. But again, he just didn't quite know what to do or when to pass it or when not to pass it. And I was a bit surprised. He came on. All right, he had a good game at Anfield last year, but there's no fans in there, so that might have contributed. I don't understand the logic. He's playing well for England. Don't get me wrong. I thought he's one of England's better players at the moment, but I don't understand. I can understand the logic of Pep bringing him on in that position because obviously as a player, but it didn't make a lot of difference, as I said, but it was so near, so far with Sterling because his brain still works. He gets in the right positions. He does the right things, but there's something not quite working when it comes to the crunch of what he does. Either he releases it or he shoots, whichever it is. He doesn't quite know when to do it at the moment, which is a shame. Because, as I said, he could have easily scored. I think he certainly had a half chance against Liverpool. But it said it's. again, he's just psychologically another one who I think he's struggling at the moment. And I think it'll be good for him to go and play for England because I think he has a lot less pressure playing for England because he's sort of done very well recently. So I think he'll enjoy that little side of it. But he's got a long way to go, I think, to sort of. And again, some of the fans are slagging him off. They have been for a couple of years now, which is it's what City fans do. But we have to stick by these guys and hope they work through it. But there's been a lot of hints that is it Barcelona are after him, but they haven't got any money, have they, as far as I know. So how are they going to pay for him? I don't know because we're not letting him go anywhere on the cheap. But at the moment, you have to say we wouldn't particularly miss him, and that's a horrible thing to say. And I want to be at the stage where we would miss him, but as at this point in time, it doesn't matter what he did 2 or 3 seasons ago. As a team, as a squad, we wouldn't actually miss him, which is a shame because I'm sure he's only young. I don't know. Do you know how old he is, Charlie?
26, 27.
It's nothing, is it? I mean, he's not even at his peak yet. So, but perhaps up there, he perhaps does need a little bit of a change somehow, and he's certainly not getting it at our place at the moment. And I'll be sad, but it'd be good for him as well. I mean, whatever's good for the players for me. I mean, this is all that matters at the end. Like Bernardo, if he's not happy, no matter how well he's playing, I'd rather him go somewhere where he is happy because I like the lads. We're all human beings, aren't we, mate? We're all human beings, whether we pay $200,000 a week or whatever, or we're working for minimum wage. We're all human beings. We all have feelings, and it's the same with Sterling. He must see some of this feedback he gets from City fans. And he just needs something. And as I said, if it is a move away, then fair enough. And obviously we loved him and thank him for what he's done for us. But Pep will keep putting his arm round him, I assume. And who knows? He may come back yet. There's certainly no reason why not. We know he's got the skill, and we know he's like a goal scorer who isn't scoring, isn't it? If he's getting in the right positions and not scoring, I mean, eventually it'll come back. And but it is getting long. It's getting a long time. It's getting a while since he sort of hit that little bit of form, isn't it? He has the odd glimpse, but. It's an interesting one. But as I say, it didn't really change the game much. It would have been nice for it to. But then again, we scored while he was on the pitch, didn't we? I think the KDB equalised while he was on the pitch. So, his influence is there. He might have influenced a couple of Liverpool defenders to hesitate or something. So all credit to him. All credit to Pep for sticking him on and causing Liverpool a sort of little bit of a problem for the defenders knowing what to do, obviously, with Sterling, because he's he's another one like, even if he's not on form, he still causes the opponents problems because of his pace and where he goes, and he drags players out of position and all this sort of thing. So, he certainly had a use. I mean, would you be happy to see Raheem sort of leave for somewhere where he could just get his head together, Charlie? What do you think?
Obviously, a couple of seasons ago, he basically won us the league with all his goals in, I believe that was the 18-19 season.
18, I think most players, even Bernardo, that was his best. It was just one of those seasons, wasn't it? And say he was one of the main guys, as you say. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't be absolutely distraught if I saw him leave, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we can't. It's nothing we can do. Is at the end of the day, it's like anything. Things have a time, have a time, don't they? And sometimes the time comes for players to move on, and in life for people to move on. That is life as it is, and perhaps that's getting to that time now. But all we can do is support him. Perhaps if we supported him more, I'm sure most City fans do support him. Perhaps if we did, we'll still sing Raheem Sterling top of the league if we ever go top of the league anytime soon. Of course we will, because that's what we do. But it's an interesting one. And that I say, of the squad at the moment, I would obviously have doubts of Bernardo and Raheem being there perhaps next summer or going of the squad we've got at the moment. We were hinted that 3 or 4 players were a bit upset before the season, weren't they? I think Jesus was in there as well, was he? As one of the guys who wasn't happy. Laporte who wasn't happy. So I'm sure that'll raise its ugly head again before certainly. Well, as soon as we have a good win, obviously the media like to sort of stir it up anyway, don't they? So I'm sure we'll see plenty on those 3 or 4 players there over the next few months.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all the players. We'll move to the manager, Pep. How do you think he did?
Yeah, well, he got himself booked, didn't he? But can you blame him? Can you blame himself? I mean, we've got to talk about the referee. I mean, absolute joke. I mean, this is one of the elite referees, I assume. Is he, Mr. Turney? Well, he has to be, doesn't he, to do a Liverpool City game? He has to be one of the best we've got. And I'm sorry if I can expect an inexperienced referee to bottle things, but I can't. A guy who wants to referee World Cups and stuff like this, you can't do it. You just can't. I would hope he never referees a World Cup because he's sure he's got no bottle. Let's be honest about it. And I think Halsey came out and said he made a big mistake. He said, it just wasn't right. I mean, all right, Halsey's not Mr. Perfect. He's not the paragon of what a referee should be doing. But I think most referees would say he made the wrong decision. And I think Pep. Obviously, I've gone to there on the ref, don't I? But I think Pep was quite right to be animated about it. I like to see Pep animated. I hate it when he just sits there doing nothing. I like to see animation, and I like to see him hugging Klopp at the end, even though I can't stand the bloke. But I like all that. It's great, and it was great he could do it. But he picked a team that I think most of us would have picked, Charlie. I don't think there was anything special in that 11. I don't think I got the 11 spot on. I think most City fans did. I saw one or two slight exceptions. So he didn't do anything special. But what was clever, I thought, about Pep was, if you think about it, you picked the same 11 that played against Chelsea. And let's face it, they're not the same teams. They're not the same tactical managers, are they? Let's be honest about it. And yet, right, we won one and drew one. But the 11 guys, obviously, actually played differently for the two teams he played. They played a totally different game to Chelsea and Liverpool. That takes some great skill, and that takes some great tactical coach as well to actually do that sort of thing. You don't tweak it and bring 2 or 3 different little more defensive players in, or blah blah blah. So that takes some skill and all. I mean, we know Pep's brilliant, and I was happy to see him animated anyway. And I think if I had to mark Pep, obviously, I would certainly give him at least an 8 out of 10 for his selection and tactics. As I say, I think he was sort of, I didn't notice myself, but the commentators were saying he was trying to change things about 15, 20 minutes in, because we weren't sort of at it with that first 15, 20 minutes. But then his little machinations and his little pointing to the players, obviously he changed it around a little bit. I like to see that from Pep, because he's not usually a messer, is he? He doesn't usually mess with the team once he's picked it. He lets them get on with it, I think, until about 60, 70 minutes when he might make the odd change at that. But he's not usually a plan B guy. He's not usually one to sort of start messing about with it. But I think whatever he did, he must have reminded the players, this is how I want you to play, guys. What are you doing? You're not quite doing what I asked. But I think part of that was Liverpool as well. I thought Liverpool perhaps they didn't go for it. A bit odd. Perhaps because they weren't kicking towards the Kop in the second half. Perhaps because we made them change round. I think we had a psychological effect. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, for making the teams play a different way. I think it does have an effect. And obviously, I'm sure Pep would have said to Ruben, if you win the toss, mate, change round, kick the other way. And although they scored both goals at the other end, that doesn't make, it's still a psychological thing. That first half, they were never in it. And I like to think that about 5 or 10% of that was a psychological element of they're not used to kicking that way in the first half. I think because it's played up there as well. It's not just down there; it's up there as well. So good mind games from Pep, and I'm glad. I think he enjoyed it. I think most of us sort of enjoyed it. It could have been better. But no, I was happy for him. He seemed a happy chappy at the end. And he has been recently, hasn't he? All his interviews, he seems to be very buoyant, Pep. He looks a bit tanned. I don't know where he's been to get tanned. I mean, I wish I had his tan on my bald head. But do you think that Charlie Pep is a bit livelier at the moment? Looks a lot happier. Since that interview where he said he was going to be here for another 2 years and then he got pulled up on it and he said, no, I didn't mean it like that. I think since that interview, I don't know whether he's done it deliberately or he's been told to do it. I have no idea. I don't care less one way or the other. But he seems a much more happy chappy at the moment. I don't know if you sort of get that sort of view.
Yeah, and that makes me happy, because in my head that means he's not leaving anytime soon if he's that animated and that bothered, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it should be winding. If you think about it, it's less than 2 years now, and it's about 18 months even. It's not even that long, is it? Let's be honest about it. We're talking, we're in October now, so if you're talking he leaves the May, not next year, the year after. It's only 18 months. And sometimes managers as we know, would probably be sort of thinking about winding down, be thinking about getting someone else in. But obviously that decision has not been made one way or the other. He's still going full tilt, and as long as he looks happy and he's still wanting players and encouraging young players, it's a good sign, isn't it? That you never know. As I say, I still think he will go, but hey, based on what I've seen at the moment, I think he's like a pig in muck. I think he's enjoying things at the moment. He's enjoying his football, and obviously that's reflecting in the team performances as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go to the opposition then. How do you think Liverpool played?
I think, yeah, as I said, I think somewhere on that, I don't think Klopp was happy, was he? Let's face it, the way he sprinted down to that tunnel to get to the changing rooms at half time. Obviously, he wanted to get his tactic board ready and all this sort of thing. Either that or he wanted the toilet. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but yeah, he wanted to. And we knew it, didn't we? As City fans, we knew there's no way Liverpool were going to play. They weren't allowed to play, not just because he played poorly. I don't think City's tactics allowed them to sort of really get into the game that much. So there's no way Klopp was going to accept that, because let's face it, all right, I don't like Klopp, but you can't ever doubt his management style. He's a bit over the top with his tactic, kick and rush sort of thing. But hey, if it wins games and wins titles, so what? It doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, I thought the first half, as I say, there might have been some psychological disadvantage for kicking the wrong way, if you like, for what they usually do. But yeah, they never really got into it, and I think that's mainly because of City. But obviously, in the second half, I think City sort of we started the second half a little bit like the first half, so we let them get a little bit of that confidence back. I think that was a mistake by us, to be honest with you. And I think Liverpool are a team who fully take advantage of any little error like that. They'll be in there. They'll be as quick. I was going to be rude, then I'm not going to be rude. They're quicker at sort of taking advantage, aren't they? If a team looks as though they're a little bit sloppy or something's wrong, and that's what they do. Very quickly, they sort of put themselves a goal up, and they were back in the game. And I think it was a different Liverpool then, wasn't it? Once again, 1-0 up, even at 1-1, they still played okay. They were obviously, certain players were fouling and getting away with it and stuff like this. But yeah, I thought Liverpool were all right. I think they'll have a good season as long as they keep fit. I don't think they've increased the squad particularly. I think I'm right. So, but all they need is 2 or 3 key injuries like they got last season. All right, they had a few last season, didn't they? But I think going forward, I think they might. You say it's a lot of pressure, isn't it? They've got a great front three, but I thought they could have done with adding to the squad a little bit if they're going to have a sustained title tilt. So I was quite happy. I was quite happy with that, because they are good. Don't get me wrong, but I think we've got enough to see them off over 38 games anyway, put it that way. But they're not going away anytime soon. I thought they played all right. Did they deserve to be 2-2 probably overall, 90 minutes? I don't think so. I think we were the better team, and I think we're not unlucky. But I think obviously we're 2-1 down when they could have gone down to 10 men. So we still had work to do. Obviously, it wasn't a foregone conclusion by any way. But yeah, I don't think we're scared. I'm looking forward to the game at the Etihad. Hopefully we can turn them over there. But yeah, they're a good team. They're a good team. There's no doubt about that. A very good team, and I'm sure. If he drops out of the cups like he tends to do, I think they've got a good chance in the Champions League again. I think they'll have a good tilt at that. As long as they play Porto every week, they'll be fine. I think they'll have a good go at that. But yeah, I think it's our title. I didn't see anything different, and I thought we just stymied them, a little bit on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, did you think? Obviously you've got Chelsea, haven't we? But did you think Liverpool will be good enough overall, get the luck to not get injuries and stuff like that?
I think Chelsea caused us more of a threat last weekend than Liverpool did on Sunday, to be honest. So I think Chelsea will finish above Liverpool. I think it's a 2-horse race between us and Chelsea.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't discount Liverpool just yet, but I certainly and Chelsea are all cheered up again now after obviously us beating them. They got a victory, didn't they? So, yeah, again, it's psychological. It's all psychological battles. But after 7 games, we've got 31 to go. It'd be interesting. To see. But I think we've started coming into form a bit early this season than we normally do. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. We might fade. I don't know. But it certainly took us a lot longer to get going last season, as we all know. But this season, I'd say, even though we're only sat, is it third? Who's sat third? Is it third in the table?
Second or third.
Third, yeah, just Liverpool are second and we're third, aren't we? I mean, even though, we're almost a couple of points behind Chelsea after 7 games and playing 3 or 4 tough away games, which we've already done. Which teams like United, I don't think they played any. Well, I think they played one team half decent, but I think they've got an interesting glut of fixtures. I noticed the next 6, some interesting ties are certainly playing us as well, aren't they, in November? So. Yeah, 7 games. I mean, 14 points, 2 points behind the leaders. If you'd said that at the start of the season, with the teams we were playing as well, with our games, I would have been quite happy. And that's what we've got, as I say, with Leicester away, Tottenham away, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. I mean, we can beat all them teams at home, no problem, if we work hard and play our normal stuff. So it's a flipping good start, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, you was moaning about him before, but the referee, Paul Tierney. How do you think he did?
I don't think he should referee a top game again, to be honest with you. I just don't think he's good enough. I mean, you think of the first half, and there's got to be a criticism of VAR as well with that Milner challenge on Foden. I mean, I don't think it was a penalty because I think he fouled him just outside the box initially, even though obviously he eventually fell in the box. I think the fact Foden sort of fell over a bit after it, I think that sort of made Tierney think, well, you died there, mate, so you're not getting anything, without. But VAR should have picked up on it, and I don't know if it went to VAR or anything like that. But there was definitely contact. They definitely coming together. He definitely touched his back leg, which affected his run and made him stumble. So. You miss things like that. He wasn't far away from it. I remember seeing he was up with play. So there's no excuses for stuff like that. It's just not good enough. And then to back that up with that one in the second half, where it's the most clearest bookable foul. I used to be a rule, didn't you? If you book someone, if they do another foul, you sort of let them off, and then if they do another one, that's when you book them again and send them off. I think there used to be an unwritten rule. The refs would probably deny it, but I think that's probably the rule. But let's face it, Milner had at least 3 bookable tackles in the game that I remember, and he got booked for. I did actually get booked for actually hugging Foden to the pitch, if I remember rightly, when he did get booked in the first half. But I'm sure his foul count must have been up quite high, and cynical fouls as well. That one in the second half was a cynical foul, wasn't it? He just literally wasn't getting it. He wasn't going for the ball. And I'm sorry, it don't matter whether he's already on a booking or not. That's a bookable offence, and so he should have been off the pitch. And I'm afraid any referee who hasn't got the bottle to do that. I've seen a few things of him with Liverpool shirts on that over the last few days. He just hasn't. I just think he's a bad referee. I don't think, as I say, all right, you give Liverpool the advantage in this one, but he'll do it the same for another team. I just don't think he's a very, very good referee. In generally, a bunch of pretty average referees, to say the least. I used to rate referees when I did my little things, but I give up rating them now because you all used to get 4 and 5 out of 10. What's the point? What's the point of rating the referee? I mean, if I see one that has a good game, I will comment on it. But generally, just the standard. And we know that, don't we, from the European games and world games. Very, very few of our referees are ever picked. I'm not saying other countries' refs are brilliant by any means. I mean, we see some dodgy ones in the Champions League, but I think ours at the moment, I think since they went professional, since they got paid reasonable money, which they do, they get paid okay. I just think they've deteriorated. I think when they were amateurs or paid pittance, I think they were far better than they are now. Unfortunately, it seems to have gone to their heads a little bit. And this edition of VAR should have ironed out some of the problems, but it's just probably added to them, unfortunately. So. Would you have Paul Tierney again? Would you be happy, or what do you think on that? I think Mike Riley. Was it when did he ref? Was it Chelsea game? Riley refed us.
some team like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even he's okay compared to Paul Tierney. I think Paul Tierney believes his own hype. Unfortunately, I think he's one of these guys now that just thinks he's better than he is because of the games he gets. But would you think that was? I think I'm right there, mate. I mean, is there any referees you do like? You particularly think, oh, good, he's reffing. Is that what when you get the refs, you go, oh, good,
yeah,
that's him reffing.
I think you said it the other week, but I'm never delighted that we've got a certain ref over another. I think they're all as bad as each other, to be honest. They're all rubbish. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there are occasionally they do have good games. Don't get me wrong, there are games where they're as bad for each team, so you can't say he's biased or anything like that. But I think this game in particular, there's definitely a leaning towards Liverpool, no matter what you say, and that's fair enough. That's just how it is. It's just you come to it, and Pep said it, didn't he? I don't know if he's got in trouble for it. He said about Old Trafford and Anfield, and he's totally right. Of course he is. Anfield last year with no fans in, perhaps he would have been sent off. But the difference is there's fans in, and for whatever reason, I mean, they don't terrify us. We've been there, but for whatever reason. I think that has an effect. Again, as I said, I keep pointing to my head, but again, I think up there as well with these referees, they sort of let certain things go at certain, so they don't get earache. I think they get less earache if it's for certain teams. Don't let's face it, they're only going to get earache off little small club City fans and stuff. So it doesn't matter, does it? Let's be honest about it. Rather than the deluge of offensive stuff they'd get off the big fan bases like Liverpool and United and such, So again, you can't tell me they don't live in the real world and they know these things for referees. They're human beings after all, so they do know that, and they do, because they get death threats, don't they? I mean, it's horrible to say, but they would get death threats. I mean, I'm sorry if that had been on the other. I'm sure he hasn't. Like idiot City fans, of course, we're not all perfect by any means, but you wouldn't be surprised if something had been the other way around. The refs like Tierney would get death threats on the various social media, etc. Because that's what you see horrible pictures. I mean, all City fans do would post a picture of him with a Liverpool badge on his referee top, and that's what mainly City fans do. But obviously, there's certain elements from other places that are probably a bit harsher, wouldn't they, with the things? I mean, say we're not perfect. I'm not going to say City fans are perfect by any means, but I think they play to the gallery. It's like an act with them most of the time, and as you say, I think they're all there's odd ones that I watch and they do okay, but it is painful to watch sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next up, I'll quickly talk about the fans because I know you weren't there, unfortunately, but I think the Liverpool fans, the atmosphere at Anfield is a bit overrated, to be honest. They just sing their crappy song before the game, celebrate when they're scoring, you'll hear a pin drop for the rest of the game. I think our away fans are some of the best in the league, but our home fans aren't as good, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me. I'm not going to stick. I will stick up a little bit for Liverpool fans. I didn't think the atmosphere was that bad from Liverpool. Certainly, obviously, as I say, I've been to Anfield, not recently. I can never get a ticket nowadays, or obviously work and stuff. But they're no worse than anybody else. We're playing a big team, of course. The Etihad will be sort of rocking and loud, and as long as things are going well as well, don't forget. If you even I try and sing all the game when I'm at the match, but even I get a bit down and don't, if things aren't quite going right. I'm not. Again, we're not perfect, so but. All credit to Liverpool. I agree. They are overrated. I think they are. Of course they are. Of course, they're definitely overrated because they're no better or worse than many clubs in the Premier League. Certainly, what you call the top 6 clubs. There's nothing special. I mean, I've been impressed with the Etihad atmosphere this season, to be honest with you. I think City fans away from home are superb, but then again, a lot of certainly United's away from home are pretty good as well. But I mean. I wouldn't want to be amongst them. I don't. But they are. You can hear them on the telly, can't you? If you watch United away from home, you can hear them perhaps more than they can at home. I can't always say that with teams like Liverpool fans. I don't think they're the greatest away from home. But I think what happened with Liverpool as well. Again, it's just a change in ends as well. I think the atmosphere at the match on Sunday didn't seem as hostile as far as the booing and whistling. I mean, we have derbies at the Etihad, don't we? Where we boo and whistle for most of the game every time United have the ball, and we didn't get that at this game. And I think the change of ends again affected the crowd as well because they weren't used to it. So I think that had a big effect on it because we did hear them. Of course, did sing the old song. They have a number of songs they sing, like we have songs we sing, and there's a bigger end. Don't forget the Kop as well. It's one area. It's hard at the Etihad because you've got two different sections of fans singing anyway. You got one opposite on the Colin Bell stand and us in the singing section. Then you got two more layers up top. I mean. And look at Tottenham. Tottenham have this wonderful wall now, don't they? But I'll be honest with you, I've watched a couple of their games recently, and the atmosphere is absolutely naff. Yet you got a big wedge of like 20,000 fans there. These railway seats are coming in now. That should be bouncing, shouldn't it? But it's not particularly the English way, I don't think. But I think we do all right. I think Liverpool are all right for what they are. Don't get me wrong. I think they do okay. As I say, they have the benefit of that Kop. They have a. And it does help. I don't, obviously sound-wise, you've got to have a stadium that reverberates as well, and some stadiums don't, unfortunately. The smaller ones do. That's why Palace are always quite good because you've got, you can get a couple of hundred people singing. It sounds fantastic, to be honest with you, because of the acoustics and the way the stadium is. But of course they're overrated. But that's media. Let's listen to. I heard it. I don't really usually listen with the commentary up, but I mean, the commentate like, let's just go quiet now and listen to the anthem. It's absolutely pathetic. I mean, it is absolutely. I mean, we all used to sing that song in the 70s. We used to sing it on the Kippax, and we got bored with it, so we left it to Liverpool and Celtic to sing it now. That You'll Never Walk Alone. And to be honest with you, it's only loud because of the PA system that plays it out. I mean, that makes it even louder. So. Yeah, and it's nice to have all your banners and your flags. Of course it is. But, I mean, they've won many trophies, haven't they, for banners and flags, Liverpool. Let's be honest about it. That's what they bang. We've got more banners than you. All this rubbish, you know what I mean? But, I think... they are a bit overrated, but they're no worse than anybody. They're okay. As I said, I thought they were okay on Sunday, but I think it did throw them a little bit that we change ends. I think the minds got a bit confused by that. Oh, do we sing because we're shooting up the other way, or do we sing this? I think they got all a bit confused by it, to be honest with you. All credit to City for doing that and quietening them down, because they were definitely quieter than I've heard for a few years. You think back to the Champions League game, of course, but even the league games, last 2 or 3 league games, apart from last season, of course, that we played at Anfield. I thought the crowd was very hostile, and it did have an effect on our players. We did make mistakes. There were rabbits in the headlights, and I think it wasn't the same this time. And I think Liverpool suffered for it, and they should have suffered a little bit more. We should have beat them, but. I think they missed that. I don't think they were great against City, but overall, they're no better, no particularly worse than any other club.
Yeah, definitely. And the final question, I think you mentioned it before, but who gets your man of the match?
Yeah, as I said, I did a joint one, and I feel a bit. Someone laughed at me doing a joint one, but as I said, obviously, I said Bernardo and Foden, of course. But I mean, how could you separate them? I find it very hard to separate either of those guys, to be honest. But there's only a couple of players who didn't put it in. They're all. It was a team. It was a great team performance generally. Yeah, we had Liverpool at the moments, but we showed character as a team, and I think even from the guys perhaps like Laporte, who didn't have the best of games, to Foden and Bernardo, who did have a great game. I think character-wise, I think the guys did the best, and I don't think they let the shirt down. They certainly let the blue shirt down. I don't think they let the fans down, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy with that performance. But so you have to have a man in a match. Yeah, I mean, I'll say Salah. No, no, Bernardo and Foden. I can't really split them two, to be honest with you. But say you can go down the list, can't you? Diaz and Rodri. I mean, Rodri, just for that save, probably earned the man of the match, didn't he? Let's be honest about it. But I would still stick with it. I've stuck with those two. I put them out on the internet, so I'll have to stick with them now because I put them as my man of the match. I'm not going to backtrack and change.
Yeah, definitely. Just quickly before we wrap it up, mate, where can we find you?
Yeah, just get on Twitter at Charles Deneen, or if you're putting any Google search engine, just write Bernard Deneen. I mean, Charles is my first name, Bernard is my second name, but if you just write Bernard Deneen City or something like that, you'll find me and all my YouTube stuff. And I do film and TV stuff as well as my City stuff, of course. And a lot of City history, I do that as well. So if you like your City history, want to learn a little bit, I've just done a little tribute to Freddie Hill, who played for City for 3 seasons in the early 70s. He's recently passed away, so I've just done a little tribute on him and stuff like that. So if you're into that stuff, if you get me at Charles Deneen, all the links are on there on Twitter, or as I said, just stick Bernard Deneen Man City or Bernard Deneen City in your search engines, and all my stuff will be there.
Yeah, and all his links are in the description as well, so make sure you check them out. You can find me at MCFC Hibs on Twitter, Dugout Daily on YouTube. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you all later. Take care.